Once upon a time, in a small village nestled among the hills, there lived a girl named Ayanna. Ayanna was a girl with a passion for singing. She sang everywhere she went, on her way to school, while doing chores at home, and even when she went to bed at night. Her voice was like an angel's, and the people of the village would stop and listen to her whenever she sang. One day, Ayanna was walking through the village when she saw a poster announcing a singing contest. The contest was to be held in a nearby city, and the winner would get to record a song in a professional studio. Anaya's heart leapt with excitement. She had always dreamed of singing professionally, and this was her chance to make her dream come true. Ayanna knew that she had to enter the contest, but she never performed in front of a large audience before. She was nervous and afraid that she would forget the words or sing off-key. She confided in her best friend Tamara about the contest, and Tamara encouraged her to go for it. Tamara said, "You have a beautiful voice, Ayanna. You should share it with the world. Don't let fear hold you back." Ayanna thought about what Tamara said and decided to enter the contest. She practiced every day, working on her breathing, her pitch, and her tone. She listened to recordings of famous singers and tried to imitate their techniques. As the contest drew closer, Ayanna's nerves began to get the better of her. She had never been to the city before, and she was afraid that she would get lost on her way to the contest. She was also worried that she wouldn't be able to find the right outfit to wear. Ayanna had never owned a fancy dress before, and she felt like she needed one to look the part of a professional singer. Tamara noticed that Ayanna was feeling overwhelmed, so she offered to help her. She helped Ayanna choose a dress from her own closet, and she showed her how to do her hair and makeup. She even made Ayanna a good luck charm to wear around her neck, a small stone that Tamara had found by the river, which she believed would bring Ayanna luck and courage. On the day of the contest, Ayanna woke up early and set off for the city. She took a bus and then a train, and when she arrived at the contest venue, she was surprised to see so many other singers there. There were people of all ages and backgrounds, each with their own unique style and sound. Ayanna felt intimidated by the other contestants, but she reminded herself that she was there to share her passion for singing. She waited nervously backstage, watching as the other contestants performed one by one. Some of them were amazing, and Ayanna began to doubt herself. She wondered if she would be good enough to win. Finally, it was Ayanna's turn to perform. She took a deep breath and stepped onto the stage. The audience was silent as she began to sing. At first, Ayanna was nervous, but as she sang, she felt a sense of peace and joy wash over her. She closed her eyes and let the music guide her. When Ayanna finished her song, the audience erupted into applause. The judges praised her for her unique style and powerful voice. They announced that she had won the contest, and Ayanna felt like she was on top of the world. After the contest, Ayanna returned to her village, where she was greeted with cheers and congratulations. She had never felt so happy and fulfilled in her life. She knew that singing was her true calling, and she was determined to follow her dreams no matter what. From that day on, Ayanna became a local celebrity in her village. Everyone wanted to hear her sing, and she was invited to perform at weddings, festivals, and other events. Ayanna was grateful for the love and support of her community, and she continued to work on her singing, hoping one day to become a professional singer. As Ayanna's fame grew, she never forgot the lessons she had learned on her journey. She realized that sometimes the biggest obstacle to achieving our dreams is fear. Fear of failure, fear of the unknown, and fear of what others might think. But Ayanna had overcome her fear by taking a chance and sharing her talent with the world. Ayanna also knew that she couldn't have done it alone. She was grateful for the support of her family, her friends, and community, all of which had encouraged her every step of the way. She realized that success is not just about talent or hard work, but also about having the courage to pursue our dreams and the support of those around us. In the end, Ayanna's dream came true. She was discovered by a talent scout who had heard her singing at a local festival, and she was offered a recording contract. Ayanna recorded her first album, which became an instant hit. She went on to become the most popular singers in the country, performing at sold-out concerts and winning numerous awards. But even with all of her success, Ayanna remained humble and grateful. She knew that her success was not just about her talent, but also about the love and support of her community. And she never forgot the lessons she had learned along the way, to follow her dreams, overcome her fears, and always be grateful for the people who had helped her along the way. And so, the moral of the story is that we should never be afraid to follow our dreams. With hard work, determination, and the support of those around us, anything is possible, and we should always be grateful for the love and encouragement of our family, our friends, and our community who help us to overcome our fears and achieve our goals. Once upon a time, there was a father named David and his son Liam. David was an experienced hiker and loved nothing more than exploring the great outdoors with his son by his side. One day, they decided to embark on a journey to the heart of a pristine mountain range. The journey would take them through lush forests, over rushing rivers, and up towering peaks. As they set out, they were immediately struck by the beauty of their surroundings. The forest was a vibrant green, with shafts of sunlight filtering through the leaves and dappling the forest floor. The sweet scent of wildflowers filled the air, and the chirping of birds filled their ears. As they continued, Liam suddenly heard a strange noise. David tried to reassure him, but Liam was insistent that they investigate. After a short while, they stumbled upon a hidden waterfall that was unlike anything they had ever seen before. The waterfall sparkled in the sunlight, and the sound was music to their ears. David and Liam decided to camp near the waterfall for the night. David built a fire, and they sat telling stories and roasting marshmallows. As they settled in for the night, they heard a rustling in the bushes. Out jumped a friendly bear who had come to join them for dinner. The three of them laughed and ate together, creating memories that would last a lifetime. The next day, David and Liam continued their hike, but now with the new companion by their side. They encountered many more exciting adventures, including crossing a rickety bridge over a rushing river and scaling a towering mountain. Finally, after several days of hiking, they emerged from the forest, tired but exhilarated by their journey. David and Liam hugged each other tightly, grateful for the bond they had formed and the memories they had created. From that day forward, they continued to go on many more adventures together, always cherishing the time they spent in nature and with each other. Whether they were scaling peaks or simply exploring new trails, they always felt a sense of adventure and excitement, knowing that they were making memories that last a lifetime. And so, sweet dreams to all, and happy hiking to those who dream of exploring the beauty of the great outdoors. Once upon a time, there was a little girl named Ava who lived in a world full of stars and galaxies. Ava had always been fascinated by the mysteries of the universe and dreamed of one day becoming an astronaut and exploring the stars. One night, as Ava was drifting off to sleep, she suddenly found herself transported to a magical world where anything was possible. There she met a wise old wizard who granted her one wish. Ava wished with all of her heart to become an astronaut and explore the stars. The wizard smiled and waved his wand, and suddenly, Ava was soaring through space, surrounded by the most incredible sights she had ever seen. She visited galaxies of all shapes and sizes, each one more beautiful than the last. She met strange and wonderful creatures, each with their own unique story to tell, and she explored countless planets, each one filled with its own wonders and secrets. As she journeyed further and further into space, Ava realized that there was so much more to the universe than she had ever imagined. She learned about the history of the stars and the mysteries of the galaxies, and she discovered that the universe was full of magic and wonder. And finally, after what seemed like an eternity of exploration, Ava returned to her own world, and with a newfound appreciation for the magic and wonder of the universe. From that day forward, Ava never forgot her incredible journey into space, and she went on to become the greatest astronaut the world had ever seen. And every night, as she drifted off to sleep, she was transported back to the magical world of stars and galaxies, where anything was possible. So sweet dreams, and may your dreams take you on fantastical adventures to far-off worlds and beyond. Once upon a time, in a land far away, there was a little girl named Bella Boo. Bella Boo was a sweet and kind little girl who loved nothing more than spending her days playing with her friends and dreaming about unicorns. Bella had long brown hair that flowed down her back in soft waves, and big brown eyes that sparkled like diamonds in the sunlight. She lived in a cozy cottage on the edge of a dense forest, where she spent most of her days playing with her toys and exploring the woods. One day, as Bella was walking through the forest, she stumbled upon a clearing she had never seen before. In the center of the clearing stood a beautiful white unicorn with a golden horn and a rainbow-colored mane. Bella was amazed by the sight of the unicorn and slowly approached it. To her surprise, the unicorn spoke to her. "Hello, Bella Boo," the unicorn said. "My name is Sparkle, and I have been waiting for you." Bella Boo was shocked that a unicorn was talking to her. She approached Sparkle and asked, "Why have you been waiting for me?" Sparkle replied, "I have been waiting for someone who loves unicorns as much as you do. I have a special mission for you, Bella. I need you to help me save the forest from the evil wizard who wants to destroy it." Bella was thrilled to be chosen for such an important mission. Sparkle gave her a magical wand and showed her the way to the wizard's castle. Bella set out on her adventure, determined to save the forest. She journeyed through the forest, over hills and valleys, and finally arrived at the wizard's castle. The castle was dark and eerie, with black stones and twisted trees. Bella could feel the wizard's evil magic all around her. She raised her wand and said the magical words Sparkle had taught her. A bright light shone from the wand, and the castle doors opened. Bella entered the castle, her wand at the ready. She found herself in a long hallway with many doors. She opened the first door and found herself face to face with a giant spider. She pointed her wand at the spider and said the magic words. Then the spider poofed and disappeared. Bella moved on to the next door. She opened the second door and found herself in a room filled with snakes. Well, again she pointed her wand at the snakes and said the magic words, and the snakes disappeared, and Bella Boo moved on to the next door. Bella continued through the castle, defeating every obstacle that came her way. Finally, she arrived at the wizard's throne room. The wizard was tall and twisted, with a long beard and piercing eyes. He was sitting on a throne made of black stones and surrounded by his minions. Bella Boo raised her wand and said the magic words. A beam of light shot from her wand and hit the wizard, turning him into a toad. The minions soon disappeared and the castle started to crumble. Bella quickly made her way out of the castle and back to Sparkle. Sparkle was waiting for her in the clearing, and when Bella arrived, Sparkle thanked her for saving the forest. "As a reward for your bravery, Bella," Sparkle said, "I will grant you a wish. What do you wish for?" Bella thought for a long moment and said, "I wish for every child in the world to have a magical adventure like I did." Sparkle smiled and granted her wish. From that day on, every child who loved unicorns was given a magical adventure just like Bella's. Bella went back to her cottage, happy and proud of what she had accomplished. She fell asleep that night, dreaming of unicorns and magical adventures. The next morning, Bella woke up and went outside to play. To her surprise, she saw all of her friends gathered around her cottage waiting for her. Bella Boo smiled and told her friends all about her adventure. She showed them the wand Sparkle had given her, and even did a little magic trick for them. Her friends were amazed and excited. They all wanted to have their own magical adventure with Sparkle. Bella smiled and said, "Maybe one day you will, but for now, let's play and have some fun." And so, Bella and her friends spent the day playing in the woods, imagining themselves as brave heroes on their own magical adventures. They played with their toy unicorns and pretended to defeat evil wizards, just like Bella had. As the sun began to set, Bella Boo's friends went home, and she went inside to her cottage to get ready for bed. She climbed into her cozy bed thinking about her magical adventure with Sparkle and all the fun she had with her friends. As she drifted off to sleep, she knew that she would always have a special connection to unicorns and magic, and who knows, maybe one day she would have another adventure with Sparkle and the unicorns. But for now, she was happy to have her memories and her friends. And so Bella fell asleep dreaming of unicorns and magical adventures, feeling happy and content. The moral of this story is that you can do anything if you believe in yourself and work hard. Even if you're small, you can be mighty. If you have a dream, you should follow it and never, ever give up. And most importantly, you should always be kind to others and help those in need. As you drift off to sleep tonight, remember that you are special and you are loved and you can do anything you set your mind to. Once upon a time, in a world full of spices and flavors, there was a master chef named Lorenzo. Chef Lorenzo was renowned throughout the land for his ability to create delectable dishes that could bring tears to the eyes of those who tasted them. One day, the king of the land summoned Chef Lorenzo to create the ultimate dish. The king wanted something so fantastic that it would make all the other dishes in the kingdom pale in comparison. Chef Lorenzo, being the ambitious chef that he was, eagerly accepted the challenge. However, Chef Lorenzo soon found out that creating the ultimate dish was easier said than done. To create such a dish, he needed to acquire ingredients from all over the world. And so, with his trusty spatula in hand, Chef Lorenzo set out on a journey to collect all the necessary ingredients. Chef Lorenzo traveled far and wide, from the deepest jungles to the highest mountains, collecting exotic ingredients such as dragon fruit, unicorn milk, and mermaid scales. He even battled fierce creatures to acquire the ingredients he needed. After many months of collecting ingredients, Chef Lorenzo finally returned to the kingdom to prepare the ultimate dish. But upon arriving at the castle, he was greeted with the news that the king was ill and could only eat chicken soup. Chef Lorenzo was flabbergasted. all his effort, all this time spent collecting exotic ingredients, and the king only wanted chicken soup? But being the wise chef that he was, he decided to put his culinary skills to the test and create the best chicken soup the king had ever tasted. Using his vast knowledge and experience, Chef Lorenzo added just the right combination of spices and flavors to the chicken soup. And when the king tasted it, his eyes lit up and he exclaimed that it was the best chicken soup he had ever tasted. The moral of the story is that sometimes the simplest things can be the most satisfying. It's not always about having the most exotic ingredients or the fanciest dish. What matters the most is putting love and care into everything you create, no matter how simple or complex it may be. Once upon a time, there was a beautiful garden filled with colorful flowers and buzzing insects. In this garden, there lived a dragonfly named Darcy and a ladybug named Lucy. Despite being different types of insects, they were the best of friends. Darcy and Lucy had been friends for as long as they could remember. Their friendship began when they were both still in their larval stages. Darcy was just a tiny dragonfly nymph, crawling around in the mud at the bottom of a pond. Lucy was a tiny red and black ladybug, climbing up a blade of grass. One day, as luck would have it, they both ended up on the same leaf. They were both surprised to find someone so different from themselves, but they quickly struck up a conversation. They discovered that they both had a lot in common, despite their differences. They both loved flying and exploring the garden, and they both enjoyed eating aphids. As they grew older, Darcy and Lucy continued to explore the garden together. Darcy would fly high up into the sky, looking down at the garden below, while Lucy would crawl along the leaves and flowers, searching for tasty treats. One day, while they were exploring the garden, they stumbled upon a group of ants who were carrying a big piece of cake. Darcy and Lucy were curious and followed the ants, hoping to get a taste of the delicious cake. Well, the ants didn't take kindly to the dragonfly and ladybug invading their territory, and they attacked them. Darcy and Lucy were outnumbered, but they were determined to protect each other. Together, they fought off the ants and they claimed the cake as their own. And from that day forward, Darcy and Lucy were known as the best of friends. They continued to explore the garden together, and they always had each other's backs. And so Darcy the dragonfly and Lucy the ladybug remained the best of friends, soaring through the garden and enjoying all the beauty and adventure it had to offer. Once upon a time, in a land filled with rolling hills and dense forests, there lived a young girl named Emma. Emma was a curious and adventurous girl who loved nothing more than exploring the world and learning new things. One day, while exploring the forests near a village, Emma stumbled upon a strange rock with markings on it. She took it back to her village and showed it to her grandfather, who was a wise old man with a great love for history and science. Her father recognized the markings on the rock as the footprints of a dinosaur, and he told Emma all about these incredible creatures that lived millions of years ago. From that moment on, Emma was fascinated by dinosaurs. She read every book she could find about them and learned all about their different types, sizes, and habitats. Every night before bed, Emma would close her eyes and imagine herself back in the time of the dinosaurs. She would walk among these incredible creatures, seeing them up close and personal, and learning even more about them. And then one night, something special happened. Emma fell asleep and had the most incredible dream. She was transported back in time to the age of the dinosaurs, and she was surrounded by these amazing creatures. She even made friends with a friendly T-Rex, who showed her around and taught her even more about the incredible world of dinosaurs. When Emma woke up, she was filled with a sense of wonder and excitement, and she knew that she wanted to turn her love of dinosaurs into a career. And she wanted to study hard to become the most famous paleontologist in the whole world. She wanted to travel the world discovering new and exciting fossils and share her love and knowledge of dinosaurs with everyone she met. And as the stars twinkled in the sky and the moon shone bright, Emma drifted off to sleep, dreaming of all the incredible adventures she would have with the dinosaurs in the future. The end. Once upon a time, there was a little girl named Eve who loved nothing more than to play in her treehouse. To her, it was her own special castle, a place where she could escape reality and let her imagination run wild. She would spend hours inside of her treehouse, dreaming of the countless adventures she would have as the warrior queen of her castle. One day, as she climbed into her bed to go to sleep, she closed her eyes and let herself be transported to her dream world. She found herself standing on a lush, green hill, surrounded by her army of loyal soldiers who were eagerly waiting for her next command. Ahead of her was a dark forest, and she could hear the sounds of battle coming from within. She spurred her horse forward, leading her army into the thick forest, her sword drawn at the ready. As they entered the forest, they were suddenly ambushed by a band of trolls. Eve's army quickly formed a defensive line, but the trolls were fierce and numerous, and they soon began to push the soldiers back. Eve rode to the front of the line, her sword flashing in the moonlight as she fought with all of her might against the trolls. She swung her sword with deadly precision, striking down foe after foe, and her army rallied around her, inspired by her bravery. The battle was intense, and at times it seemed as though the trolls would triumph, but Eve never gave up. She fought on, even when the odds seemed insurmountable, and slowly but surely her army began to gain the upper hand. Finally, after what seemed like hours of intense fighting, Eve stood before the leader of the trolls, a massive, hulking beast with razor-sharp teeth and claws. She raised her sword, determined to protect her kingdom and her people, and charged forward, clashing with the troll in a fierce duel. With every swing of her sword, Eve felt her strength and confidence growing, and soon she was dodging and weaving around the troll's massive blows, striking back with lightning speed. Finally, with one final, powerful strike, she felled the troll and saved her kingdom from danger. As she stood there, sword in hand, surrounded by the bodies of the fallen trolls, Eve let out a triumphant cry. She felt alive and free, like the warrior queen she had always dreamed of being. And she knew that no matter what the future held, she would always have the courage to follow her dreams and live the life she wanted. Eve opened her eyes, back in her own room, with a big smile on her face. She hugged her pillow, feeling grateful for the adventure she had just experienced, and for the freedom and excitement she felt in her dreams. And she knew that no matter what the future held, she would always be the warrior queen of her castle, and that her dreams would always be there waiting for her, just like her trusty treehouse. Once upon a time, there was a father and son who lived in a small village in the middle of a magical forest. The father was a carpenter, and he spent all his days crafting beautiful furniture and wooden toys to sell in the nearby towns. His son, who was just 8 years old, loved nothing more than spending time with his father in the workshop. One day, The father and son were out collecting wood in the forest when they stumbled upon a clearing they had never seen before. In the center of the clearing was a small rundown house. As they got closer, they realized that the house was inhabited by a magical creature known as a hobgoblin. The hobgoblin was small and mischievous, with pointy ears and a curly beard. He explained to the father and son that he had been living in the forest for many years and had grown lonely. He offered to grant the father one wish in exchange for his company and friendship. The father knew immediately what he wanted. He wished for his son to have the ability to speak with animals, so that he would never be lonely in the forest again. The hobgoblin agreed to grant the wish, but warned them that there would be a catch. The power would only last until the next full moon. Over the next few weeks, the father and son spent their days exploring the forest and talking to all the animals. The son was thrilled to be able to communicate with his furried and feathered friends. He spent hours playing with rabbits, squirrels, and birds. As the full moon approached, the father and son knew that their time with the animals was coming to an end. They spent their last few days in the forest, saying goodbye to all of their new friends. On the night of the full moon, the son was heartbroken to find that he could no longer speak with his friends. He cried himself to sleep, but his father promised him that they would always be there for him and that he would never be lonely. From that day forward, the father and son spent all their days in the workshop crafting new toys and furniture for the villagers. And every night as they fell asleep, the father would tell his son stories about the magical forest and the friends they had made there. Years went by, and the son grew up to be a talented woodworker, just like his father. And although he could no longer speak with the animals, he never forgot the lessons he had learned in the forest. He knew that he was never truly alone, as long as he had his father by his side and the memories that they made together. And so the father and son continued to work together in their workshop, crafting beautiful things and sharing stories, always surrounded by the love and magic of the forest they had come to know so well. Once upon a time, in a magical land, there lived a brave griffin named Gryph. Gryph was known throughout the land as the protector of the mountains and the skies. He was fierce and strong, and his loyalty to his homeland was unwavering. One day, while Gryph was soaring through the skies, he noticed that his homeland was under attack by a powerful army of ogres. Gryph knew that he couldn't defeat the ogres alone, so he summoned his most trusted allies to help him. The first ally that Gryph called upon was a mighty dragon named Drax. Drax was known for his incredible strength and his fiery breath. Together, Gryph and Drax devised a plan to distract the ogres while they planned their attack. The second ally that Gryph called upon was a powerful sorceress named Selene. Selene was known for her incredible magical powers and her ability to see into the future. She used her powers to predict the movements of the ogres and help Gryph and Drax plan their attack. The third ally that Gryph called upon was a group of centaurs. The centaurs were known for their speed and their ability to fire arrows with incredible accuracy. They worked with Gryph and Drax to create traps and obstacles that would slow down the ogres. Finally, Gryph and his allies were ready to attack. Drax unleashed a fiery breath that sent the ogres into disarray, while Selene used her magic to create illusions that made the ogres think that they were under attack from all sides. The centaurs fired arrows from a distance, picking off the ogres one by one. Meanwhile, Gryph swooped down from the sky, using his razor-sharp talons and powerful wings to attack the ogres. The battle was long and fierce, with both sides taking heavy casualties, but Gryph and his friends were determined to win. Finally, after many hours of fighting, the ogre army was defeated, and the land was free once again. Gryph and his allies and friends were hailed as heroes, and the other animals in the land celebrated their bravery and courage. From that day on, Gryph and his allies continued to protect their homeland from any threats that came their way. They knew that they had a duty to keep their land safe and free from harm, and they were always ready to face any challenge that came their way. The moral of this story is that sometimes it takes more than one person to achieve a goal. By working together and using their unique strengths and abilities, Gryph and his allies were able to defeat the ogres and free their land. We should always be willing to work together and help each other in times of need. As the sun began to rise over the small village where Hanzo lived, the soft light illuminated the lush greenery and vibrant colors that surrounded him. Hanzo lived in a modest wooden house on the outskirts of the village, nestled amidst a grove of tall trees. His home was simple but well maintained, with wooden shingles that lined the roof and a small porch where he would often sit and contemplate the world around him. Beyond the village, the landscape was dotted with fields of rice paddies and small clusters of houses. The fields were lush and green, and the air was often thick with the scent of wet earth and fresh vegetation. In the distance, Hanzo could see the towering peaks of the mountains, their jagged peaks reaching up to the sky. Despite the beauty that surrounded him, Hanzo knew the danger lurked in every corner. As a skilled ninja, he was trained to be constantly aware of his surroundings and to be prepared for any situation that might arise. It was this awareness that had led him to accept the dangerous mission of stealing the sacred scroll from the dragon's lair. The scroll that Hanzo was tasked with stealing was a revered artifact that had been passed down through generations of emperors. It held the secrets of the universe, the knowledge of the ancient sages, and the teaching of the wisest man who had ever lived. It was said that whoever possessed the scroll would have access to unparalleled wisdom and power. Hanzo knew that the scroll was a powerful tool, and that its knowledge could be used for both good and evil. He was determined to complete his mission and bring back the scroll to the Emperor, but he was also aware of the risks involved. The dragon that guarded the scroll was known to be a fearsome creature with razor-sharp claws and a breath of fire that could incinerate anything in its path. As Hanzo made his way through the mountain pass, he was struck by the beauty of his surroundings. The mountains towered above him, their rocky faces weathered and worn by centuries of wind and rain. The air was crisp and clean, and the sun shone down on the landscape, casting long shadows that stretched out before him. As he climbed higher up the mountain, Hanzo's heart began to race. He knew that the dragon was close, and that the danger was imminent. His senses were on high alert, and every muscle in his body was tensed and ready to fight. Finally, he arrived at the entrance to the dragon's lair. The cave was dark and foreboding, with jagged rocks jutting out from the walls and a foul smell that wafted out from within. Hanzo took a deep breath and stepped inside, his hand tightly gripping the hilt of his sword. The inside of the cave was even more terrifying than Hanzo had anticipated. The walls were covered in shimmering crystals that glinted in the dim light, casting eerie shadows across the floor. The air was thick with the smell of sulfur, and Hanzo could hear the faint sound of the dragon's breathing echoing through the cavern. As he crept deeper and deeper into the cave, Hanzo could feel the dragon's presence growing stronger. His heart was pounding in his chest, and his palms were slick with sweat, but he was determined to complete his mission and retrieve the sacred scroll. Finally, he reached the chamber where the dragon was sleeping. The creature was massive, with gleaming scales that shone like diamonds in the dim light. Its eyes were closed, but Hanzo could see its chest rising and falling with each deep breath. With great care, Hanzo crept forward and began to reach for the scroll. Just as his fingers brushed against the parchment, the dragon's eyes snapped open. Its massive head turned towards Hanzo, and a deep rumble emanated from its throat. Hanzo froze, his heart racing as he prepared for a fight. The dragon rose to its feet, towering over Hanzo like a mountain. Its eyes gleamed with a fierce intelligence, and Hanzo could feel the heat of its breath washing over him. He braced himself, ready to fight for his life. But the dragon surprised him. Instead of attacking, it spoke to him, its voice deep and resonant. "Why have you come to my lair, ninja?" it asked. Hanzo took a deep breath in, his mind racing as he considered his response. He knew that he could not lie to the dragon, but he also knew that he could not reveal the true nature of his mission. "I have come seeking knowledge," he said, his voice steady. "I have heard that there are ancient scrolls here that contain secrets beyond measure. I seek only to learn." The dragon regarded him for a moment, its eyes piercing through Hanzo's defenses. But then, to Hanzo's surprise, it nodded its massive head. "Very well," it said. "I will allow you to take one of the scrolls, but you must choose wisely, for they contain knowledge that can be both powerful and dangerous." Hanzo nodded, his heart racing as he scanned the shelves of scrolls. He knew that he had to choose carefully, for the fate of his mission rested on the knowledge that he would gain from this scroll. Finally, he saw a scroll that caught his eye. It was ancient and weathered, with delicate calligraphy that danced across the surface. Hanzo could feel the power emanating from it, and he knew that this was the scroll that he had been sent to retrieve. With trembling hands, he reached out and took the scroll from its place on the shelf. The dragon watched him intently, its eyes never leaving him as he carefully wrapped the parchment and placed it in his pack. As he turned to leave, the dragon spoke once more. "Remember, ninja, knowledge is power, but it can also be dangerous. Use it wisely or suffer the consequences." With those words ringing in his ears, Hanzo made his way out of the dragon's lair and began the long journey back to the Emperor's palace. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months as Hanzo traveled across the land. He faced many dangers and challenges, but he was determined to complete his mission and bring the scroll back to the Emperor. Finally, he arrived at the palace gates, his heart racing with anticipation. The guards welcomed him with open arms, and he was led to the throne room where the Emperor was waiting. With great reverence, Hanzo presented the scroll to the Emperor. The room fell silent as the Emperor unrolled the parchment and began to read the ancient calligraphy. As he read, his eyes widened in amazement. Hanzo could see the wisdom and power contained within the scroll radiating from the Emperor's eyes. And then, as the Emperor finished reading, he turned to Hanzo with a smile. "You have done well, Hanzo," he said. "You have brought us the knowledge that we need to lead our people into a bright and prosperous future." Hanzo bowed deeply, his heart filled with pride and satisfaction. He knew that he had completed his mission, and that he had done so with honor and bravery. And from that day forward, Hanzo was known as a hero throughout the land. His name was spoken with reverence and respect, as he was often called upon to undertake other dangerous missions on behalf of the Emperor. However, Hanzo never forgot the dragon's warning about the dangers of knowledge. He knew that the power contained within the scroll could be used for good or for evil, depending on how it was wielded. And so, he devoted himself to studying the scrolls and unlocking its secrets and learning its lessons. He shared his knowledge with the people of the land, using it to help them live better and more fulfilling lives. But he also remained vigilant, always aware of the potential for misuse of the knowledge contained within the scroll. He knew that with great power came great responsibilities, and he took that responsibility very seriously. Years passed, and Hanzo grew old. He watched as the world changed around him, as new generations rose up to take his place. But he never lost sight of the lessons he had learned on his journey, and he continued to share his wisdom with all who would listen. The moral of the story is that knowledge is a powerful tool, but it must be wielded with great care and responsibility. The pursuit of knowledge is a noble endeavor, but it is important to remember that with great power also comes great responsibility. We must always strive to use our knowledge for good and to help those around us live better and more fulfilling lives. And we must always remain vigilant, aware of the potential for misuse and abuse of the knowledge that we possess. Only in this way can we truly make the world a better place for all. Once upon a time, there was a young boy named Jake who lived in a small village. Jake was unlike any other child in the village, for he had a great passion for rockets. He would spend hours building model rockets and imagining himself soaring into the sky, exploring new planets, and discovering the mysteries of the universe. One day, Jake learned about a rocket competition that was being held in the big city. It was a contest for young inventors to showcase their most innovative and exciting rocket designs. Jake was determined to enter the competition and win. He worked tirelessly on his rocket, putting all his heart and soul into its design. This time, instead of building a traditional rocket, he decided to create something unique. He designed a sort of hybrid rocket that could both soar into the sky like a traditional rocket and also dive into the ocean like a submarine. Finally, the day of the competition arrived, and Jake set off for the city with his prized creation. When he arrived, he was once again awestruck by the size and grandeur of the competition. But he didn't let that discourage him. He was confident in his creation and stepped forward to present it to the judges. To his delight, Jake's hybrid rocket won first prize, and it was the most innovative and exciting rocket at the competition, and the judges were amazed by Jake's creativity and imagination. Jake returned to the village a hero, and the people were eager to hear about his adventure. He told them about the rocket competition and the exciting things he had seen and learned. From that day on, Jake was known as the boy who loved rockets, and he inspired countless others to follow in his scientific footsteps and pursue their passions. And so, as the stars twinkled in the sky and the moon shone bright, Jake drifted off to sleep, dreaming of his next journey into the cosmos and beyond. The end. Once upon a time, there was a young boy named Johnny who had a passion for racing and a dream of becoming a famous race car driver, just like the ones he saw on TV. Johnny's father was a big fan of motorsports, and they often watched races together on TV. Johnny would sit on his father's lap and watch in awe as the driver zoomed around the track. His father could see how much Johnny loved race cars and encouraged him to follow his dreams. One night, Johnny went to bed with his favorite race car themed pillow, dreaming of the day when he would be behind the wheel of his very own race car. As he drifted off to sleep, he suddenly found himself transported to a racetrack just like the ones he'd seen on TV. In his dream, Johnny was at the starting line of a high-speed race. The air was filled with the sweet aroma of burning rubber and gasoline mixed with the excitement of the spectators. The sound of the engines revving echoed in his ears, and he felt the thrill of anticipation in the pit of his stomach. As the race began, Johnny was behind the wheel of his sleek and shiny red race car. He was focused, determined, and confident. He pushed the pedal to the metal, and he felt the speed and power of the car as it roared down the track. The wind whipped through his hair, and he could feel the heat from the engine and the rush of adrenaline through his veins. As he navigated the twists and turns of the track, Johnny felt completely in control. He was focused on the road ahead, dodging other cars and taking corners with ease. The roar of the engine was music to his ears, and the cheering of the crowd was like a symphony in his heart. Johnny dreamed that someday his father would be able to watch him on TV racing around the track and winning races, and to be proud of him. As the race came to an end, Johnny crossed the finish line first. Winning the race and hearing the roar of the crowd, he woke up in his race car style bed with a huge smile on his face, hugging his race car themed pillow tightly. The moral of Johnny's story is that dreams can come true if you work hard, never give up, and always believe in yourself. Just like Johnny, you too can achieve anything you set your mind to. So sweet dreams. Once upon a time, in a land of rolling hills and sparkling lakes, there lived a young king named Maximus. He was known throughout the kingdom for his kind heart and quick mind, and his people loved him deeply. However, Maximus's peaceful reign was threatened when an evil ogre king named Zogar launched an attack on the kingdom. Zogar was determined to rule over all the lands, and he had sent his army of brutish ogres to conquer Maximus's kingdom. Maximus bravely led his men into battle against Zogar's forces, but they were no match for the ogre king's superior strength. Maximus was forced to flee into the wilderness, taking on the mantle of an outlaw in order to gather his strength and regroup. As he traveled the land, Maximus gathered a group of loyal followers who believed in his cause. Together they plotted their revenge against Zogar, striking at his forces and sabotaging his plans. Maximus' reputation as the outlaw king spread far and wide, and his people began to look to him as a symbol of hope. They whispered his name in hushed tones, speaking of his bravery and cunning as they waited for him to reclaim their land. And one day, Maximus and his army launched a massive attack on Zogar's stronghold. They fought with all their might, finally defeating the Ogre King and freeing the kingdom from his grip. Maximus was hailed as a hero and a liberator, and his people honored him as the Outlaw King, a brave warrior who never gave up in the face of adversity. From that day on, the kingdom was at peace, and Maximus ruled with wisdom and kindness, beloved by all. The story of the Outlaw King teaches us that even in the darkest of times, it is important to never give up on our dreams and to always stand up for what is right, no matter how difficult the odds may seem. With courage, determination, and the support of those who believe in us, we can overcome any obstacle and achieve great things. So remember that you are never too small to make a big difference. and that with hard work and persistence, you can achieve anything you set your mind to. And now, as you drift off to sleep, know that you have the strength and bravery to be a hero, just like the Outlaw King Maximus. Good night. Once upon a time, there was a little girl named Lily who lived in a world where everything felt gray and dull. However, she had a special connection with the violin, and every time she played it, she felt like she was transported to a magical world full of wonder and adventure. Lily's great-grandmother was a talented violinist and had passed down her precious violin to Lily. From the moment Lily first picked up the instrument, she felt like she had found her true calling. She practiced every day, and her love for the violin grew stronger with each passing day. She dreamed of playing in a famous orchestra where she could share her passion with others and bring joy to people's lives through music. The violin allowed Lily to escape the stress of the world around her. Every time she played, she felt like she was transported to a place of peace and serenity. The violin allowed her to express herself in a way that words never could, and for that, she was grateful. At the end of every practice session, Lily hugged her great mother's violin and went to bed, already looking forward to tomorrow's practice. She knew that the road to becoming a renowned musician was long, but she was ready for the journey. So one night, as Lily drifted off to sleep, she was transported back to the concert hall of her dreams. She was surrounded by a crowd of people. All of them were there to hear her play. The music started, and Lily closed her eyes and let her bow glide across the strings of her violin. The sound was magical, and she felt like she was soaring through the skies, free and alive. The moral of Lily's story is that if you believe in yourself and work hard, you can turn your dreams into a reality. The world is full of wonder and adventure, and all it takes is just a little bit of courage and determination to find it. So close your eyes and let the music take you away. Your dreams are waiting for you. Once upon a time, there was a young boy named Max and his furry best friend named Buddy. Buddy was a plucky little pup with a wagging tail and a heart of gold. He was always by Max's side, ready for adventure and always eager to please. Max and Buddy were the best of friends, and they did everything together. They would run through the fields, play in the park, and even have picnics on sunny days. They were each other's constant companion, and they loved each other deeply. One day, Max and Buddy decided to go on a big adventure. They packed their bags and set off into the forest. It was a bright and beautiful day, and they were filled with excitement as they explored the new territory. However, as they delved deeper into the forest, they came across a problem. They stumbled upon a deep and fast-flowing river. Max wanted to cross it, but Buddy was too scared. He had never been good at swimming, and the thought of being swept away filled him with terror. Max, being the clever boy he was, came up with a solution. He found a big stick and used it to help Buddy cross the river. Buddy clung tightly to the stick, and Max guided him safely across. When they reached the other side, Buddy was overjoyed and so grateful to Max for helping him. From that day on, Buddy wasn't afraid of water anymore. He learned that with a little help from his best friend, he could overcome anything. Max and Buddy continued on their adventure, exploring new land and facing new challenges together. They were always there for each other, no matter what. The moral of this story is that with a little help from our friends, we can overcome anything. And most importantly, true friendship is about unconditional love and support. So never be afraid to ask for help, and never give up on the ones you love. Good night, and sweet dreams.